Alright, hello, what are you saying? Welcome back to ISOJ. Love to see you all again. Today, we're going to be talking about the Suns. You know how much joy it brings me to just see the Suns currently on an 8-2 record. We lost last night to the Sacramento Kings. Short man, didn't have KD, didn't have Ryan Dunn for the whole game, but it's fine. To be honest, I haven't watched that Kings game yet. This is a video that I've wanted to do just purely based off that 8-1 run with KD and how the Suns have looked. So let's get into it, shall we? First of all, I want to look at that Mavs versus Suns game because one of the big things about the Suns this year is how good they've been in the clutch. And as much as you want to say, oh man, it's so nice to be a clutch team, you have to sort of remember why the team was in there to begin with. And this is the big problem I feel going forward with the Suns is that KD is so big because he's such a big clutch player, right? And he's done so much for us in the last 10, 12 minutes of games where he can really take over. The problem is, what do we do now that we don't have that? So Devin Booker's start hasn't been great this season, really slow to start, which is such weird things to say about someone who is averaging 23 points, 4 rebounds and 7 assists. But he hasn't been playing like Devin Booker. He hasn't been doing the things that we've all seen him do and be accustomed to do. He's very much a second option of this team. And you can see by the fact that KD gets a lot of those clutch minutes. I saw a tweet pretty recently. I have to go and find this again. But I feel like watching KD play in that first or second quarter, you can really see who has it on today. Like, who is going to be that guy for us? And if no one really shows him that it's them, hey, KD is going to be that guy for us anyway. And since the Olympics, this man has been on such a crazy tear. And KD was such a big shining point for the Suns that it's hard to deny it. And in year 36, you can make a case, and I've seen so many videos on this, where the Suns' future is so fucked. And I agree. The Suns' future is not in a great place right now. And I think a lot of that is the fact that we've negliged our future for the now. We don't really have any big picks coming up. In fact, I don't think we have any picks. We have nothing real left to trade. This roster right now is how we are going to contend. And personally, I think I'm fine with it. But, sorry, I digress. I got a little bit sidetracked there. That Mavs versus Suns game. What a game. This isn't the Mavs Suns game. This is the Kings Suns game. But you get the point. What a game. Because the Suns do this thing where you see such pristine ball movement. You see the ball swing from corner to corner and you're just hunting for a great shot. And that is, and I've said it before, that is the epitome of bud ball, right? Okay, cool. Devin Booker has an okay shot that he can make. But if we can swing it over and see Tyus Jones who's open on the other side, or Royce O'Neal who's open, and even Nurkic, and just a smaller side, I feel like Coach Bud is using Yusuf Nurkic in a similar role to how we used Brook Lopez back at the Bucks, where you want your big to be able to stretch out the floor a little bit just to help your guards and help your players get into a rhythm. It's a different personnel entirely, but you can see the inner workings of how that's happening, right? I think Nurkic is shooting about 3 threes a game, which it's not crazy volume, and he's not entirely accurate with it all the time, but it's good enough, you know? And as long as it's enough to take the big out of the paint and give more space for KD and give more space for Book or Beal to operate, I think like that's a winning formula. And I think that's what the Suns have shown so far, is that there's a lot of flexibility in the offense. You can see that the problem with Frank Vogel last year is that the Suns depended on the hero ball too much. And you would see after the first 2 quarters of the game, once you go into the third and fourth, it starts to fall apart a bit for them because they would just isolate. Book, go get a bucket. KD, go get a bucket. Bradley Beal, go get a bucket. In which, if you're looking at it in that sort of myopic lens, it's like, yeah, if I had these 3 players, I would just tell them, go out and score because that's what you're best at. But I think that's the difference between a Coach Vogel and a Coach Bud. Yes, both championship coaches in their own right, but Bud has been about for a long time for a reason. Actually, now that I say that, I think they might be the same tenure as coaches, but regardless, as an offensive coach, I think Bud has really, really done wonders for the Suns lineup. And you can see it in the different things that they do. You can see that the Suns have shored things up more on the defensive end. You have KD, who is really locked in and bought into this role as a defensive player and is doing great. Devin Booker is continuing his defense, and to be honest, like, that's real. That's still there. And I want to take a second to highlight Bradley Beal, because as much as the stats show, and I have the stats here, over these last 9 games, he's 15-4-4, which for a third option on this team, you think, well, maybe... For all we know, Bradley Beal, he is a scorer. He is a bucket getter. This is a man who averaged 30 points for the season not too long ago, right? To see him down to 15, yes, you're the third option, but still a bit weird. But I'm seeing that he is part of the catalyst of what keeps this team going forward. Why the ball is moving is he is being very unselfish. And I feel like that's a big core proponent of this big three, is that they are very, very unselfish. And they're not taking the same shots as they used to last year. It's not a case of, give me the ball, I got this. It's, let's hunt. Let's look for a good shot. And I think that's something you could see that, especially Devin Booker was doing very well in the Olympics, was that he knew he didn't have to be the Devin Booker and the Suns, you know? It didn't have to... we didn't roll back the clock. It's 2016 again, or 2019, or 2020, whatever year. He realized that in order to be the best player for this team, I don't need to have the ball in my hands. I can just play good defense. I can just kick the ball because I know I've got Steph Curry on the wings. And so that's what we see in the Suns. Yes, fair, it's not Steph Curry, but it's Tyus Jones, and Tyus Jones is not bad in his own right. So with that, you can see the 7 assists, and you can see the experimentation through playmaking and making him the lead guard last year. These are the fruits of our labor. I just want to talk about this team because I think going into this season, yes, I thought they were going to be the second best team in the West. That's because I'm a Suns fan. I'm supposed to think that. But to a lot of people, the Suns were being discredited. People didn't think this team was going to be that good because we saw it last year. They weren't that good. They were a 6 seed and got bounced in the first round by a much better team. This year, their team's not doing that great, but we'll get to that in another video. But yeah, but just to hark back on that image of the Suns being clutch, right? KD right now, it's a fair case. If you're making MVP off the first 8 games of the season, don't do that. But if you were gonna do it, it's KD. Like, come on, let's not play around here. It's KD. 57% shooting in the fourth quarter. That's such a crazy statistic for anyone, right? Especially someone who's making that many shots. He's defending. He's a number 1 option on defense at 36 years old. I don't think we give guys like LeBron so much credit for their longevity, but we need to start having this conversation about KD. Because to be doing what he's doing and to be hitting this level of greatness this late in his career, we need to talk about this. And I'm tired of the discussion of like the Stephen A. Smiths of the world or like the other like pundits of ESPN or whatever saying KD's not a good leader. KD, there's a clip, right? And I'll show that clip right now of him talking to Nurkic after Nurkic makes a couple boneheaded mistakes. And you can really see that he is not chastising him. He is telling him these things because it's like, okay, cool. We got to win. We got to bring it home. Let's level our heads down and let's think. And to say that this 36-year-old, 17-year veteran of the league is not a good leader, you're kidding me, right? We're just talking for clicks now, right? Because that is not the case whatsoever. But yeah, so this is my problem that I said before. 7 out of the 9 Suns games this year have been close games. They have been games defined in the clutch. Now that you don't have KD, what happens? Because yes, you can dig yourself out of a hole and yes, you can compete. But Book is slumping. Can Book do it? I hope he can. My God, I hope he can. Because to be able to see that cements the fact that this Suns team is going to be a contender. They are going to be good. If the Suns, look, their next, 5, 6, 8 games, their next slate, while KD is injured, right? Sacramento, we just finished that game, they lost. Utah, Sacramento again, OKC, Minnesota, Orlando, New York, Los Angeles, Brooklyn, Golden State. There are 2 teams there that are not at least playoff contenders, right? That is a tough stretch. Let me reiterate again. A tough stretch to be without your best player. And if the Suns can miraculously go at least positive, or at least, like, if you manage to win out, holy hell, you're a contender. Holy hell, you are the best team in the league at that point. Because strength of schedule is very important to consider. They're not 8-1 by beating up on bad teams, so to say. I think the only bad team they've faced so far is the Clippers. And the Clippers have been kind of surprisingly decent. They're not bad, but also they're punching above their weight, very clearly. Another person I want to talk about just slightly, right? Ryan Dunn. Because what a rookie. I don't even remember what pick this guy was taken with, but it wasn't high, I'll tell you that. The Suns very much lucked out on this kid, and he is showing out. His averages aren't great. I don't think I've even noted them anywhere here. It's 6 points on not a lot of shots, but as a defense-first kind of player who is very much in his first 8 games in the NBA, he is the point-of-attack defender for the Suns. De facto. There's no one, in reality, there's no one else. Like, Josh Okogie just came off an injury. Royce O'Neal is kind of the best we have right now. Sadly for Ryan Dunn, he's out with an injury, kind of tweaked his left ankle in the game against the Mavs. He tried to play in the Kings game, but I think it just re-aggravated it more. So this would be such a good opportunity for Ryan Dunn. I'm not saying that to be like, oh, you've squandered it because you're injured. Like, this would have been the real test to see how good this kid is, because you are very much throwing him to the wolves. Are they playing against Minnesota? That would have been a really cool line. Yes, we are playing against Minnesota, and hopefully he's back so we can literally throw him to the wolves. But yeah, the Suns defense as well is ranked 9th in the league. Great, right? I feel like historic Suns teams aren't great defensive teams, and I'll pull it up so I'm not really talking out of my ass. They're a top 11 offense, top 10 defense. Like, what more can you really ask for this team that everyone sort of wrote off very early? And to go on, I want to talk about the one loss in the season. 22-point collapse to the Lakers, which was a hell of a game. Like, when you watched it, like, the Suns were really firing on all cylinders. There's a reason why they had to come back from 22 points. That's how far ahead they were. That's how good the game was going. And that was, I think, either our second or third game. And you could see the hero ball crept back into them. We saw the Suns of 2020, what was last year? 2023, right? It was, they got to a point, especially in the third quarter and going down the stretch, that it was, give the ball, let's work. And it's habits like those that they're really going to have to find a way to get out of them. Because if they do, this Suns team is not just a playoff contender anymore. This Suns team is a championship contender. This is one of the best teams we have in the league. And hopefully next week, we'll have another video talking about the other top contending teams in the league, like the Cavaliers or the OKC Thunder. Maybe we'll even talk about the bad teams like the Bucks, which is such a weird sentence to say. But yeah, championship window closed my ass. Honestly, I don't know what I even do in these, but it is what it is. Consider leaving a like, maybe even a subscribe. That would be great. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good week.